Well, here we are, another episode of Retropower Uncut. And where better place to start than Cortina. A lot has happened, understandably, because there's lots of us been working on it one way or another. The first bit this week, I guess, is it arriving back from Simpson Exhaust. We've got a beautiful exhaust manifold and system now on it. A very, very nice job done, as always. Welding that looks far nicer than mine, if I'm honest. A really, really nice job. In exchange for this arriving back, the Stratos has now gone down to Simpson Exhaust to have the manifolds and the rest of the system actually now. We were originally going to get the manifolds done. They're doing the whole system on that now. So that's currently with Simpson, and they'll be getting through the work on that now. But yeah, we've been busy away on this while that's away. The plumbing is now progressing well. The cooling system is now pretty much all piped up. We want to do little bits to finish off, but that's pretty much all piped up. The oil lines are now pretty much finished. I think Cal touched on those last time. Strut brace, I finished making the strut brace. I'd made the towers last time, but they weren't painted. They're now painted. The brace is made. That's been painted body colour. Gaz has got that at the moment, but that's an ovallised tube rolled with bush tubes on the end that bolts in there, so that's done. The reservoirs, which are missing at the moment, that go in the two rectangular holes, they're currently at Allitech Precision. Well, actually, I think they're probably on their way here at the moment. I suspect they're probably with a courier at the moment. So we're going to get those back, check them over, which I'm sure they'll be fine. And then they've got to go for anodising along with the screen wash tank that hides under this wing that's currently not here. The wiring loom on last week, you saw the wiring loom arriving from Bremax. That's now installed in the car. That's been, I think there's a few bits still to terminate, but it's largely now all terminated as far as it can be. And Cal's made a start on programming the PDU for that. So he's been setting up the lights. I noticed yesterday he was making various lights operate on the car. I don't know quite how far along he is with the programming, but he's certainly part way along with programming the PDU. So we're getting there with that. But yeah, I noticed he's got indicators flashing and various lights operating, and a horn, in fact, because I heard that yesterday as well. So yeah, he's getting through the programming on that. I'm just looking at my little sheet of things to remind me that we've done, because I'm bound to forget something. Yes, throttle pedal. That's now finished. We've got the other pedals in. The throttle pedal needed finishing off just to put the pad on it. Once we've got the other pedals in their final positions, just to align the pad for the throttle pedal so that it's nice to use and that the distance is correct for heel and toe, which it is now. So the pad's been brazed onto that, and that's gone for paint. That'll be painted. I don't quite know where the pedal is. Is the pedal in here now, Jim? Is it in the...
Yeah, it's next to my face.
Ah, it's next to James's face in the car. So yeah, the throttle pedal's in the car now. James is lying upside down in the footwell. That's where that voice was coming from. He's currently connecting things to in the pedal box area, I think, at the moment. In fact, we'll cross past something else that James has been working on in a minute over on the workbench over there, because he's been doing another nifty little trick for the car. I think on the front end, that's largely everything that's been done on that. Just checking anything else. Dean's been busy on the interior. That's upstairs. He's been busy sorting out carpets, edging carpets, the carpet sections to go in. We won't go up there and look now, but Dean's been busy sorting out carpet sections. So I imagine next week we'll see a fair amount of progress, because we can probably start fitting things into the car next week, interior-wise. But yeah, if we wander on this way, just checking I haven't missed anything in there. No, I haven't. Dropping out of that theme for a brief moment, another area we've been working on is the axle for Utah. We touched on it last time. We've been having a bit of a battle with diffs, if I'm honest. We want to use a 3.3 axle ratio in this car, 3.3 to 1 axle ratio. The original Mark II Jag axles, we've got a couple of them. They're both 4.4 to 1 ratio, which is rather too short, really, for what we want with this car. With the gear ratios that we've got, a 3.3 to 1 diff ratio entirely makes sense for the gearbox ratios that's been paired with, and the RPM range of the engine and the use the car's going to get. So we've got a 3.3 to 1 crown wheel and pinion. The problem we've got is that the 4.4 to 1 diff carriers from the Mark II Jag axles have a different crown wheel offset to the carrier that would be needed to go with a 3.3 to 1 crown wheel and pinion. The only carrier I have for a 3.3 to 1 crown wheel and pinion is no use. It's damaged. I thought I had another one. I've checked it and that's a different crown wheel offset again. Strangely, it's an obscure one. I really don't know what's gone on there. So I'm now awaiting a replacement 3.3 to 1 carrier so that I can build it with a carrier with the correct crown wheel offset, which is why that job's now paused. Otherwise, that would be complete. But frustratingly, that one's got put on the back burner in the diff area. Here, this is the other bit I mentioned for the Cortina. It's the original handbrake mechanism. Now we're using a tunnel mount handbrake in the car rather than that. But what we've done is we've repurposed that as a nifty little line lock. The car's having an electric valve line lock, solenoid valve line lock on it, and we're going to use the original I don't know what you call it, an umbrella handbrake, I guess, as the operating lever for the line lock, so that it stows away under the dash. If you want to use the line lock, you can pull it out, and then the final section of the pull on the line lock will engage the micro switch, which will then operate the solenoid valve for the line lock for tyre warming purposes. We've done a few odds and sods on the W111, not an awful lot of update this week. There'll be a bigger update next week again on that. The bits and bobs we've done are not really worth me going into in any great detail there. So I think we'll wander along into metal shop and see where we're at in there. I'm not going to do Cal's little ditty through here. Where shall I go here? I'll go around to the front. Morris. It's going to be hard to get in with the camera, so I'll just talk about it. Scott's been very busy on the Morris. He's done, I think Cal touched on possibly last week about footwells in the Morris. He's now, it's hard to point out really, but the footwells are now complete. He's wheeled up the inner arch sections to close off the upper section of the footwell into the wheel arch section. He's finished shaping the wheel arch sections here. We've now got the damper mounts in so that he's got somewhere to go with making the inner wing to meet them. He's done the lower footwell sections where your feet will actually rest and join them into made some nice little beaded sections there and join them into the sort of the kick plates where your heels will sit. And then in order to be able to do the floors, we need to get the seat mounts finished, and we've been toing and froing a little bit with seat positions, but we've finalised the seat positions now. And I'd drawn up the various parts for the seat boxes. There's various complications there with them not being symmetrical and other things in a Mazda, but I want to make them basically use the original Mazda seat bases. So we've drawn them now. Scott's just finishing off the second one. He's done the first one. That's in the car now. He's then shaped some tubes, fish mouse some tubes to let an extra section into the transmission tunnel and put like a little window of 2mm steel into the transmission tunnel to pick up the inner end of the seat mount. The seat mount's then welded to the inner sill. We've had to do a bit of work on the inner sills. There was originally a flange all the way along the inner sill that the floor joined to on the Morris, but because we've changed the floor height so much from the original, it still has higher and lower sections, but they're in different places now to where they were originally in the Morris. So we've decided earlier this week to remove that flange from the inner sill completely, weld that up, which Scott's done, clean it all up, so we've got a clean face on the inner sill to work to with the new floor, and it's much neater now. It needed doing really. I was going to try and keep it, but it's much neater just to get rid of it. And so now the floor box is attached between the tunnel and the inner sill on the driver's side. He's just finishing the passenger side now, so by the end of today we should be pretty close to having both of the front seat mounts done. The rear ones are going to be a bent tube, which is the next section, which should be relatively easy to do. That's not going to be too challenging. That's just going to pick up from the lower chassis tube, go up, across, have 2 folded sections that pick up the rear seat mounts and then go across and back down and weld to a counterplate on the sill. So there's nothing too challenging about that part. So we're making good progress on that. It's been quite challenging, the seat mounts, for various reasons, but we're getting there with that. The inner arches are getting there. I think once the seat mounts are done and the rear seat mounts are done, the next step on this will then be inner wing. Get the inner wing done, the bonnet hinges, because we're revising the bonnet hinges, so get those done, and then we'll be able to, we're then getting fairly close to thinking about exterior bodywork. That's not going to be too far down the line now, needing to start thinking about that. So yeah, good progress on that. Moving on, past the Camaro, which has snuck in, which Cal mentioned last time. The Mustang, which Stu's ploughing on with as we speak on this occasion. Stu's been very busy. He's done some repair work on the inner quarter panel on the near side, basically to enable him to fit the outer quarter panel in the correct place. There are various problems centred around the outer quarter panel on the near side. It doesn't fit, is the long and short of it. It's not quite the right shape in a number of places. Around where it meets the light and the rear capping panel at the back, it's not the right shape. And it's not quite the right length. So he's going to dismantle that quarter panel and remake the ends of it. But in order to do that, he needed the inner quarter to be correct before starting on that. So that's now done. And then he's been working on the sill, this side, the offside sill, which there's been quite a lot of work again there. Mustang panel fit, we've talked about it before. We're back with it again. The widths of various things are not quite right. He's been repairing the lower A pillar on the offside, and there's a width tolerance issue between the lower A pillar, the sill, the door, and the B pillar, which he's been basically juggling with the widths of parts and moving everything around to find an average position so that everything actually fits. But he's pretty much there now, and it does all, I think, now, pretty much fit. He's close to it all fitting. But it is a bit of a juggling act. But Stu's the right man for the job on that. He's very patient in getting there now. He's also taken off we've decided we're going to we need to remake basically the rear capping section, the rear piece. That bit on the near side quarter panel needs remaking. So we've decided at that point to use these sections both sides and remake the one on this quarter panel as well. Well, not remake, reuse. You can get this as a replacement section. The quarters came with these pieces as part of them, but they're not the right shape. Now this one was pretty close to being the right shape. The near side was a long way from being the right shape. So Stu's decided to use these replacement pieces to replace the bit that was part of the quarter, on the grounds that these fit the cappings better and are nearer to, this is a lot nearer the right shape than that. And it also conveniently has this piece as part of it, so we don't need to do that as a separate piece. So that's why he's doing that. It's actually the near side of the car that's prompted all that work, in that the near side is a long, long way from being the right shape. So he's getting there. He's gone to this side because he wants to try and get the off side of the car done first, which is why it's a bit of a, as with all these things, it ends up being a bit of a juggling act between picking up and putting down jobs to try and get everything in the right order to achieve what we're trying to achieve. But yeah, the door now fits the sill, and the quarter is pretty close to now fitting the door, and the wing fits the door. So this side of the car is getting very close to being right. So yeah, that's basically where we're at with Mustang. It's good progress, juggling act as usual, trying to make things fit. But it's getting there. It's getting there now. In the body shop, the progress is more sanding. Gaz is cracking along really with the off side of the car now. The near side was pretty much there last time we were here. The off side is now getting there. There's a lot of work, as there always is at this stage. It's basically crunching the hours of sanding. It's exactly what's going on now. Gaz gets to this stage of every car build, Gaz's arms double in size, and then he does painting and they shrink back down again. But yeah, at this point, it's just a lot of making everything flat and straight, pausing the right lengths of time between working on different areas to let things settle down, because body fillers move and things need to settle. So it's just spreading the work around, letting things settle. But we're getting close now to being able to put polyester on the car. This back end and this back corner, and a bit more work down the side, and then he's getting pretty close to being the first coat of polyester on it, and then more sanding. And I think, unless I've missed anything, I think that's pretty much where we're at this week.